All right, we are, today we're going to be speaking about building Latvia's photonics innovation ecosystem. This is probably the most important thing we have to do. My name is Beldavs, and I'm working on this in Latvia, and we have a guest from Ukraine, Dr. Smertinko, who has worked on this problem in Ukraine for a decade or more. And so he will present a view from Kyiv. I will present some thinking about this process and and I'm really looking for input. And so we'll start. And I have interesting. Oh. Okay, so I'll be talking about our vision, where we're trying to go, try to address what an innovation ecosystem is. There are many definitions. Why the photonics, quantum science, space technology field can be considered an emerging smart specialization for Latvia. We'll address that question as well. And then the critical role of an innovation ecosystem to implement a smart specialization. And then we'll address a few other elements. So what is our vision? Our vision is that Latvia will build a world-class research-driven cluster in photonics, quantum science, and space technology that becomes a principal driver of economic development for Latvia during the 2014 to 2030 timeframe. And we also expect that to have a strong impact on development in Estonia and Lithuania. We're looking at a new entity called the National Science Center Fotonika-LV, and this entity would be the entity that leads the development of the innovation ecosystem that will make this vision possible. And the strategy of Fotonika-LV shows how this vision can be achieved. So let me say just a couple things. The National Science Center Fotonika-LV is now emerging. There are discussions with University of Ventspils, University of Daugavpils, and University of Latvia to take the existing research association, which includes the Institute of Atomic Physics and Spectroscopy, the Institute of Astronomy, and the Institute of Geodynamics and Geodesy, and to form a partnership with one or more external institutes, a close working partnership. And in that relationship, we have several in mind, and that one of them being the Lund Laser Center. So let's take a stab at what is an innovation ecosystem. Now, in this field, this is a relatively new term. So it draws off of biology, it draws off of research management, economic development. It is an idea that it's self-organizing. If you're planning things top-down, you can't achieve the goals. It's a live thing. It is a bottom-up. It is entrepreneurial discovery, which is a term used in the smart specialization literature. It's quintuple helix. So we're not talking about just linking academia, business, and government. We're looking at linking education. We're looking at linking other fields into this working relationship. And in principle, fundamentally, it is chaotic. Something that is not chaotic is not going to result in innovation. So now here we have some this whole idea of an innovation ecosystem is relatively new. Probably dates from around 2007, in that time frame. So it's an idea of a cluster that's dynamic. It's you know, you can talk about entities, but it's trying to capture the dynamism of the system and how these various elements interact. And in this interesting article in Forbes magazine, it's a stress that individuals do make a difference. And place matters. So in the connected world, it doesn't seem that matters whether you're in Kyiv or Beijing, Riga, or New York, but it does matter because it's when you bring these resources together in a natural innovation ecosystem like Silicon Valley, you can kind of concentrate and they work together in a way that accomplishes what you're trying to get done. Now, the National Science Center, Fotonika-LV, is going to try to bring about this ordered, chaotic process. And here we draw on a little bit of chaos theory and a strange attractor. A strange attractor, we don't have our laser pointer here, is one that deals with fractals. So here we have something that grows, it splits and splits and splits, yet it retains the fundamental pattern. And this is kind of what we're going to try to do with our innovation ecosystem in Latvia. So what is the National Science Center Fotonika-LV? I already, I guess, covered that. Okay, right now our association is in process. We are preparing a bid on a project called teaming, and the teaming stands out in several ways. It's a part of the Horizon 2020 program that addresses the idea of lifting up the innovation capacity in the countries that are behind to the European level. And in the teaming project, the institute in the backward country, such as Latvia, pairs up with an institute in the advanced country, and they have a joint venture that lasts for about 5 years. The funding is about 20 million euros for the 5 years, which is expected to be matched by structure funds from the local economy. And that makes, in many ways, very, very interesting. The proposal is due on the 17th of September, and we're deep into it at this point. But this issue of developing the innovation ecosystem, I think, is fundamental to our success. So right now we are a part of the University of Latvia. We expect that with the funding and before and otherwise too, because we will continue to be active, that we will become an autonomous organization, and that will basically broaden, continue the mission of the 4 million euro grant that we had before. So we will be the core of the research and development intensive cluster. We're going to perform, I used this word before, right now, well, it's a technology platform, because we will have functions, including functions such as a photonics business incubator, such as business acceleration services that will strengthen and provide some guidance to the photonics innovation ecosystem. This is from a review of Latvian R&D that was done by a company that, and it speaks to the various elements of an innovation ecosystem: generation of ideas, creation of knowledge, protection of the knowledge, acquisition, transfer, pre-commercial maturization, and support of commercialization. These are all elements that we anticipate we'll have to cover, which is very important why, Toby, your involvement is here, because money is important, but it's also the guidance that comes, from the venture investment expertise. And but we're looking at this entity becoming the focal point of the ecosystem, and the ecosystem then is actually guided not by directives, certainly, it's guided by a foresight process. And the idea of technology foresight is that you gather expertise and they achieve some level of consensus of what the emerging future will be. Now, if you have the experts in business formation, the experts in science, and the experts in financing thinking about what the future will be, and they reach a common mindset of what that future can be and where the leading edge is and so forth, and this expertise is concentrated in our ecosystem, then we will have more people at the leading edge doing very, very creative work. The foresight process literally drives innovation, because then our expertise will then share a knowledge about the future, and in effect we'll pull up those people that may not have the specialized knowledge maybe about a given technology or about world developments which may be relevant, but we'll share a knowledge about what that future, the emerging future, is bringing. So this, by integrating the foresight process into the way the ecosystem works and pulling the various actors together at critical times so they share a common view of the future and technology relating to that future, then we will be driving innovation faster through that process. So foresight is fundamentally important, and to integrate that into the way the ecosystem functions. So the foresight process will be serving sort of as a prime organizing function for the ecosystem. So now this is a view of photonics. This is from a U.S. publication in 2009, and it takes the web of science and takes publications in various fields. So this shows kind of where the very, very broad spread of photonics, biophotonics, agriculture, geoscience, space science, computer science, these are all touched by photonics. Our specific web, we have not created that, but we can refer. Now, here's our core. Right now we're looking at this core working with the Beldavs University, which has a specialization in laser microscopy, and then the Beldavs University, which has the radio astronomy, space technologies, and data matters. This is the initial structure for the photonics National Science Center Photonics. Later, we expect that some other elements will come in, because there's still the core knowledge base is really very much similar. So this core, I believe, will add other elements in time, but as we're going into our proposal, the other ones are still there. So photonics, we can briefly touch on that. It's the control of photons, which are quanta of light, to achieve human objectives. So photonics includes all of classical optics, optical devices, their use from microscopy to telescopes, astronomy, optoelectronic devices, quantum technologies, and their use. Very important is that photonics is a key enabling technology, which means that the European Commission has reached an agreement with the European Investment Bank to prioritize funding for projects that can develop technologies and products that help Europe to sustain competitiveness. And photonics is one of the most important fields. So that is our field of research, and then here's some other elements of photonics. This is key enabling technologies. Now, Latvia has 9 nationally significant research programs: informatics, pharmacy, energy, agriculture, wood products, nanostructured and functional materials technologies, Latvian language, social economics. These are more the hard science and where you have physical, you have products, and you can have some level of manufacturing. None of these, with that exception, really has much of a cluster associated. There is a cluster here, there's a cluster here, certainly a cluster there, but there is no integrated innovation ecosystem for any of these others. We will be pioneering in developing that. This is kind of getting a little bit of a view of where we may be heading. Fotonika has partnerships going back for literally decades with some of these outside institutions. So we're looking at, with this base, having an exchange of scientists, knowledge, views, to really broaden our capabilities through ongoing, regular exchanges, working with our core here. And I'll have another picture of this a little bit later. Now, where are we on time? How much time do we have? We'll have that. Okay. Let's. So, what is smart specialization? This is a very important idea, because if for many projects, if your project is not linked to the smart specialization of the country, the European Commission says, we will not give you funding. Okay. In this particular case, for the teaming project, you have to concretely show how your project is linked to the smart specialization of Latvia. The problem we face in Latvia is that Latvia's smart specialization was not accepted by the European Commission, and we're hoping by mid-next year to have it accepted. There is a process underway. So our approach in this case is to go bottom up and literally to show that what we have would be a smart specialization, because it is focused on what the region is good at doing to accelerate economic development. We will have a way to coordinate investment, to stimulate innovation, collaboration between industry, government, education, and research, and the ability to attract and retain quality people. Now, we have in the Fotonika-LV Breakbot project, we have attracted 14 people from outside of Latvia to come back or work in Latvia. That is the beginning. Much more needs to be done, but that is a key element. So and again, the European Commission is saying in all its policies that different regions must specialize to achieve economic breakthrough for the region. What they criticize Latvia on is that we literally included all of the cats as part of our smart specialization, and how can a country of 2 million people do what all the rest of Europe is trying to do with these key enabling technologies? It's not possible. So the European Commission is saying focus. So what we're going to present is a focused approach to achieve excellence and economic growth. And basically this is our goal. If we need to go for smart specialization, it will literally be the smart specialization. So the key is to drive innovation. The clusters are not enough. We can look to models of natural ecosystems and innovation ecosystems, and then our designed innovation ecosystems. I believe one fairly successful example is Austin Business Incubator, which fits in an ecosystem designed by the Institute for Creative Capitalism, also in Austin, Texas. So here are some of the reasons, and I think some of you have seen this before. We've got about 700 researchers involved with photonics and related R&D spread across various institutes. More than 35% published scientific papers from Latvia since 2004 deal with photonics. There is a huge market potential. The other thing, though, is, and it's exceedingly important for Latvia, is there are numerous niche market opportunities that are particularly suited for Latvia's size and economy. So, and there is an emerging manufacturing cluster, 70 million euro turnover in 2013, growth was 18%. I am making a claim, and I think it can be supported, that if our innovation ecosystem for photonics was set up, we won this project, and had the support of the government, we could credibly anticipate 30% growth per annum based on growth in the firms that exist. I think you were mentioning you had several in your portfolio that might be 100 million sales plus in a decade. But we would also look at rapid formation of new businesses. And there are two sources, there are several sources of new businesses. One that excites me very much is actually the commercialization reactor potential. If we have an active photonics innovation ecosystem in Latvia that excels in certain areas, it will attract people from outside of Latvia, particularly from the former Soviet space. And this is where the commercialization reactor has been successful. I believe if we had funding, and I'm not sure structural funding can be used for this purpose, but if structural funds could help cover some of the costs of the commercialization reactor. Earlier, those costs were covered by the International Science Center in Moscow. Basically, it was US and other money covering the cost of scientists coming to Riga for the commercialization reactor in the process. That funding, I believe, has been cut off because Russia has cut off the International Science Center in Moscow. It still exists in Kyiv. However, if we have independent funding, and we have Nikolai out there with his whole network of people, we can continue the process. So part of the successful innovation ecosystem in Latvia would be to provide funding for that process. So we can attract more innovators here to add to the photonics cluster that we have. Okay, bring their expertise, bring their ideas, know-how, and that will attract entrepreneurs into Latvia from other places as well. Because if we have something that works well, and we are innovating, people will come here from Denmark, they will come here from China. We do have many Chinese I see every day now. You go to the bus station here, and you always see a half a dozen people from China that are clearly living here. You know, they're not just coming in as tourists. So we're going to see, but we could attract some real entrepreneurs and innovators here as well, because I think this can be a very interesting place to work. So this is a high potential. I think at a 30% plus growth rate, we definitely will be classified as a pretty effective, good choice for smart specialization. Chaotic process, okay, I deal with other elements. But I would like to stress again, foresight. We do have people that have received some training. We've done one foresight process. As part of our project, we will have 2 foresight workshops, additional, and we will integrate this. No one else has really done this effectively, I think. I've seen roadmaps used in the US federal labs. They developed the road mapping process, but it's not no one has integrated the foresight process yet in an innovation ecosystem to in effect give it the strange attractor that adds order to this beast and brings about that way that actually leads to the goal. So that's where we are. And here are these different pieces, how they all fit together. You know, here's in terms of core, the business incubator. I think the value of a business incubator where the people that are assisting the businesses are also knowledge specialists, so that in effect you don't have one guy working on some kind of new gadget that flies, and then the next one is working on some biotech project, and the third one on something else. If you have the whole room sort of filled with people that speak the same similar technical language, I believe you'll get more done, get it faster, and if the people that provide the oversight, where they integrate, then you can integrate the incubator and the incubator occupants also in the foresight process, so they can be more attuned to the leading edge of where the knowledge base actually is. And then we can integrate the business acceleration services into that, which is also a function of the commercialization reactor. We certainly have to have the Academy of Sciences and other organizations, trade associations. And again, this is the core of this overall process, which is tied into Europe. Now, one of the things we have to do, almost 100% of the production of our photonics businesses in Latvia is export. But we need to do more. We need to be producing things for the major manufacturers here in Latvia, such as Philips and others that are in the photonics space. I know Z-Lite is producing items for Cook Medical, which is one of the leading endoscopic companies. But we have some technology here, and I really think I'm excited about the possibilities of the laser frequency comb technology, which I saw applied in some biomedical applications. We have been using it. It's ultra precise measurement, okay, that femtosecond measurement, and that can be important for in vivo analysis and related things. So now that's a biophotonic thing. So so core technology may be the laser, the spectros, the frequency comb, but its application can be across all the dimensions that we're talking about. So this is our picture. Now we want a view from Kyiv. What do you do there? Because we don't know how to fit this thing yet together. You know, how do you really make it hum? And so this is our ecosystem emerging. We do know what we're going to do here, because that's pretty well defined in this teaming project. But how all these other pieces fit together, that's next year. Now the way the teaming project works is year one is about €500,000 to develop a business plan. How do you make it work? Okay, and then if you have developed that successfully, then stage two is a 5-year project with a €20 million funding for the project, which has to be matched by structural funds. And match doesn't mean an exact euro match. It could mean double, it could mean half, but it remains to be developed. So this is it. We go to your presentation now.
Any questions?
Any questions at this point? Or maybe we'll have a discussion afterwards, yeah.
Okay.
Or we can discuss now.
I have a discussion, short question.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the hexagon structure.
Yeah.
So, for example, this University of Latvia's Laser Centre, which seems to me to be an obvious participant, so why aren't they in?
They should be in.
Why aren't they?
I think the discussion the negotiation hasn't happened with them yet. It needs to occur. We literally need to pull all the strength together, because for the European Commission, the reviewers, they got to see this is going to be strong, and that you are giving the country's best shot forward.
Yeah, that's what I thought, if there's the various participants there, which on the surface makes sense, but I was a bit surprised that then you would submit the project with only a couple of participants and others still on the
They
outside.
all need to be in. What I was looking at is you have it, that these other parties can come in. Let's say they read the proposal and they say, hey, this actually makes some sense. So now you're in stage one and you actually have the funding. And then to expand the national research, National Science Center to include all the key participants.
Or you haven't discussed with them yet?
We haven't formally discussed it.
Yes, but our idea to make a cluster, and the cluster will cover
The
all
cluster
this.
includes,
And then this association will be only part of that.
yeah, the association, yeah, and that, I think the model would be that we're looking at, the elements that we're talking about, dense pills, Dalgo pills, maybe as this absolute core, and then all the others are in fact in the cluster. They will function, and they will be in projects, and there will be coordination, but the administrative, who actually is administered through the process would be this core.
Oh, okay, right.
So, yeah, we wouldn't, nobody would be excluded. We're gonna give this the best shot, so all strengths in photonics in Latvia will be part of the picture that's presented.
Yeah, and then it's clear.
Again, our understanding is self-organization.
It's a self-organizing process, yeah. I think that has to be stressed. As soon as you impose some top-down structures in there, it's going to create problems, you create bureaucracy. We need to have something that people have an idea, they can act on it fairly quickly. So the idea, for example, we have these competence centers in Latvia. Okay, the competence centers are a great idea, but I think most of the money, or much of it, they haven't spent. Okay, the clusters, the same problem to a degree, because it's a cumbersome process. So by having expertise, what is really good involved in the whole process, rather than the competence center now is tied to LEA, and you got people maybe involved that may not be experts, okay, in the field. So they have to judge on different matters, and the process becomes more bureaucratized. We want to streamline it as much as possible, so if you have the idea, at some stage you can act on it quickly, and get your 10,000 or whatever it is needed to do something quickly, without still risking that you're going to waste the 10,000. We got to design this that way. That has to be. So the money control has to include the deep knowledge of the field and where it is, so that projects can be evaluated quickly. I think the venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, they specialize. They're going to be in very, very tight fields because they want to know who's doing what, and who's the expert. We want to have sort of the same level of expertise, not the same level, but same principle, so that when people come for money, you can make a judgment very quickly, act quickly, get them the money, get them on the project, and get them to work. Something like
So,
that.
I mean, my question was more, I would thought your project application would be stronger if everyone signed up.
We need to have as many signed up as possible, yeah. I would totally agree with that.
That was my reading on how you present that everyone signed up, and then you get later sent in,
And then they're all in, and they're part of the National Science Center on photonics, yeah. I would totally agree, I think that's, we need to work on that.
Western approach is a good approach. The next cluster maybe some nanophotonics or some biophotonics, or probably or three clusters in this place.
Yeah, have three clusters, and that
Better
probably
than
is-
one.
the European Commission would say that's fine, three. But when you have six, that's not fine, we're too small for that.
Do you have working contract with Imprima 2?
Improvement to zero.
This year?
But we are a early stage technology investor in Latvia.
And one question yet. why ecosystem? This ecological system or economical system? If economical system, I understand. If,
Double sense.
let me know, please.
Okay, yeah, it's an ecosystem because, well, they're trying to, the people that originated the term are trying to bring in the biology analogy that it's living, the elements interact and they co-evolve. The co-evolution of the different elements in the system, and they bring about something else. So now we then have to figure out the direction of co-evolution. So it's conscious, directed evolution through the foresight process that will be integrated into this process.
I see
It's a
a few
good-
words. I see here a little bit culture shock or something like that. Just in America and in Europe, we understand that environmental sciences, that's something enormously wide science. But in Russia, I don't know how it's in Ukraine, but in Russia they sure say that environmental sciences, that is ecology. It's absolutely not true. That ecology is only maybe 1% of environmental sciences. So here we are using the broader meaning.
At least the ECO is the European Commission. Our European
No,
cooperation, if you
I'll
like.
send you several papers on this idea. So.
European cooperation. That's job.
This is for understanding only. It's good, but why?
Why do that? Okay, what the European Commission has stressed is the smart specialization. There's some recent cases link the smart specialization to clusters. Okay, and I'm claiming that it's not enough to have the cluster, you have to have this ecosystem that drives innovation. And there's a body of literature that, would give ideas for developing that. But no one in Europe has really figured out how to make smart specialization work. I think Latvia isn't the only place in trouble. So we're going to try to show how it can be made to work in Latvia in this particular field of photonics and related disciplines. It's the idea of dynamic system. It leads somewhere, it evolves, so the elements are co-evolving, and then we provide through the strategy a kind of an intellectual structure for this co-evolution to take place and drive for a goal. It was fairly early, and I tried to give this with this picture, with this idea. So you have relative chaos here, these different elements, and then the smart specialization strategy, the RISC-3 strategy, directs that. And in fact, it provides like a coherent, a laser effect, so you get all these disparate elements that are co-evolving together in a chaotic system to achieve the national goals. That's the picture that we're trying to achieve. It's self-organizing, and you have to stress that you give the individual the absolute opportunity to do what they want, within this structure. It's not top-down, but at the same time, there is a way to lead it somewhere, and that's through the foresight and related processes.
Thank you.
Okay.